Time for major stories. Good evening again. I am Joel Crosskill. Veteran attorney at law Don Foote says he will be appealing the ruling handed down by the General Legal Counsel, barring him from practicing law. Foote argues that the ruling is part of a collusion to silence him on an ongoing case against senior judiciary officials. He spoke exclusively with my colleague Jamaica Maitland, who has our lead story.
It's a disgrace, and this ruling is going to bring the legal profession into disrepute. The JLC is in disrepute. They should never let a corrupt panel like that sit. They are seeking stripe of me. It won't work.
The ruling, which was handed down on Saturday by a 3-member General Legal Counsel disciplinary panel, found Don Foote guilty of professional misconduct. Reports are that a woman who was a client of Foote testified before the panel that he misrepresented the sum awarded to her by the court. But Mr. Foote has another story. He says according to the agreement, the client received 2/3 of the settlement. The lawyer's fee is the remainder. The settlement was $23 million.
I spend money on my client, to negotiate and manage to get a settlement for $23 million. $7 million, and took out the $7 million. And the $16 million she signed, recorded that 2/3 is hers and 1/3 is mine. She got it, accounted to her for that, and then after the boyfriend tell her that Mr. Foote is getting too much money, so they must pursue that $7 million.
Mr. Foote argued that one of the lawyers who was a part of the panel is involved in an active case in Westmoreland that he is a part of. He adds that that same lawyer is also friends of the complainant.
He and the third party are friends, the girl boyfriend, and he acknowledged that at the outset. I know you have an issue with it. Do you want me to try this case? And he said yes, he wants him to try it. I said, can't try it. If you have an issue, you have a court case in Montego Bay, and would you believe me? Let's sit down and try the case. And don't ask me.
The veteran attorney, who has 28 days to file an appeal, says it is a collusion to silence him on an ongoing case involving a judge in Westmoreland. He says he's currently preparing documents for a new trial. Jamaica Maitland for CVM Live.
The evolution of the National Housing Trust as well as the Housing Agency of Jamaica took on added dimensions following the delivery of a mandate to both boards by Prime Minister Andrew Holness in his bid to create a more affordable housing market for those who are still unable to meet the criteria of existing agencies. The details in this report. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has charged the National Housing Trust as well as the Housing Agency of Jamaica with a new mandate to not only make housing more affordable, but more efficient in terms of footprint. The Prime Minister's demands begin with the revision of the current building methods.
I am not certain that the NHT has made a great effort, or the HHA for that matter, to introduce into the mix new construction designs, construction methodologies, and construction materials.
Holness suggested that some of the assets currently held by the Housing Agency and Housing Trust may not match with their intended market. He recommended selling inappropriate assets.
So the HHA has lands that it owns, but these lands are high-value lands, high-cost lands. I mean, if the HHA were to build housing on those lands, they couldn't sell them to their target market.
Though he dispelled the possibility of gentrification, the Prime Minister suggested that inner cities should be reclaimed and refitted with high-rise structures to take advantage of existing infrastructure.
At some point, you need to do a study on where the housing demand is, draw a line. We have to agree where is the line that we're not building anymore out of that, and then seek to infill, to reclaim the inner city areas. And this is not about displacing, but this is about improving the existing conditions under which people live.
Residents of several communities connected to the main bridge in Bowden Hill, St. Andrew remain on edge. Work started some months ago to replace the bridge which collapsed in February. However, it has stalled. The mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew recently announced the reason for the delay, but residents are tired of what they are calling the runaround. Aladdin Love shares their concerns.
Paradise Valley, one of the alternative routes that residents have to traverse on a daily basis, regardless of how risky it is. They are once more renewing their calls for the bridge to be completed, as they say enough is enough. 2 weeks ago, residents were worried about heavy rainfall, which caused the Hermitage Dam to overflow and an alternative route to be destroyed. Uneasiness remains, especially with the lives of children in great danger.
When we have our children, we at work, we have our children going across the bridge. What we have to think what's happening, you understand? Because the bridge water can come down and wash them away. You understand what we're going to hear? My condolences, that is flatness.
And we need the bridge. Really need the bridge. As I can see how it's safe, it's really not safe because in the middle there it's breaking, and we still have to walk on it. It's not safe.
While the residents remain at a disadvantage, business isn't bad for taxi operators.
At least every morning just call it $1,000 because if you have to pay they charge $150, so you know, and come down here, but call it in a nearly $1,000 then.
This man tells us of his struggle.
I own a motorcycle and from the bridge, pop down and stuff. Make life hard still, I'm not going to tell no lie because I have to park up the road when normally I park over at my house. So I have to park up the road and I have to walk. Come down. Sometimes when the river come down, I have to risk my life, I go cross the bridge.
More than a week ago, the mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew said he is expecting work on the new bridge to begin in another 3 weeks. However, this man says there has been ample time for the bridge to have been completed. While danger lurks, residents can only hope that the new bridge will be completed in the time given by the mayor. Aladdin Love for CBM Live.
The introduction of cutting-edge forensic equipment and a newly constructed facility to house them is intended to transform Jamaica's constabulary force into a culture that relies on objective, irrefutable science to substantiate claims and corroborate allegations. Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang expressed optimism that Jamaica has finally caught up to this century's capabilities in science-based crime fighting. The details in this report. In a legal environment that relies heavily on witnesses in the prosecution of accused criminals, and a culture that preaches informers should die, science is being used to bridge the gap in criminal investigations, as Jamaica's forensic capabilities made a huge leap forward, with the opening of an annex to complete the structure of the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine. Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang toured the facility.
The Institute of Forensic Science is maybe one of the most crucial addition to the entire infrastructure for security in Jamaica. It's independent now, but it provides a kind of support for the policing which cannot be measured in dollars and cents. In the modern world, unless you have an effective forensic institute, you are really fighting a losing battle against criminals.
The application of science to criminal investigations will strengthen the ability of the force to examine evidence and establish trends in criminal behavior.
It can be now certified internationally, so we can in fact do evidence that is be used in any courts within the region. And that's a credit to our country, and maybe the only one of its kind in the English-speaking Caribbean, I'm sure. By providing the police with this kind of cutting-edge facility and top-of-the-line equipment, we're in fact taking Jamaica's policing into the 21st century. We want to ensure that the men and women of the Jamaica Constabulary Force are adequately resourced to tackle the criminals and investigate the crimes today and beyond.
The first floor of the newly constructed annex is currently occupied, and the ground floor will be commissioned into use in 2020.
It was built at a cost of approximately $200 million and is now complete. Construction began in January, and the infrastructure work, in addition to the infrastructure work, we have you'll see that it is very secure, from the thickness of the walls, especially air conditioning units, closed circuit television, fire suppression, and storage. They will not be able to do to the Forensic Institute what they do to the courthouses, I can assure you.
In an effort to bring greater awareness to violence against women in Jamaica, several men participated in the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, the International Men's March to stop rape, sexual assault and gender violence. Our reporter Khadija Thomas was there and made this report.
Gender violence is still an issue for too many women in Jamaica and across the world. This walk is one means of engaging men in activism by having them walk a mile in women's shoes. Several men in women's flats or heels journeying around the ring road at the University of the West Indies Mona campus. Their purpose to bring awareness to violence against women and calling for perpetrators to end their abuse. Among those who marched was the executive director of the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica, who is hoping that this will send a message to men.
Any man who abuses a woman is a coward, and probably we ought to begin to redefine the meaning of man and manhood and what it means to be a man, and stop calling men who abuse women men. We have to find another name. It is derogatory to men to style men who abuse women as men. The journey in women's shoes was unbearable for some of the men who relied on women for assistance in completing the journey, but they eventually fulfilled the task.
I think it was a very worthy cause. We do not pay enough attention to this issue of violence against women, and anything I can do to heighten the awareness, I'm all for it. Some might say it's a gimmick, but we're drawing attention to it. So with the fun, yes, to draw the attention, and then hopefully they will leave with the idea that it is really a serious issue that they're walking for.
Mary C. Cole Hall played an integral part in the coordination of the event.
I want to bring about awareness. I think abuse against women, it has been in place for so long and it has been affecting so many lives, and I personally don't feel comfortable with certain things that have been happening to women.
The Student Services and Development Manager says the walk is a call for men to get involved. The Clothesline Project is one aspect.
It's actually a message symbolically representing the anti-silencing campaign, saying that women are not going to keep silent around the issue of rape and sexual assault or generally violence against women and girls, and that there should be no shame around the women who have been victimized.
Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
The Tourism Working Group has recommended that the government halt the issuance of domestic tour operator licenses until it finds a balance between the local and foreign investors. Over the past couple of months, tour operators have been complaining about the alleged targeting of the sector, which is affecting their livelihood and not those of foreigners. Jamaica Maitland reports.
The report, which focused on transportation, entertainment and craft within the tourism industry, has been completed. Headed by Winfred Bagalo, the Tourism Working Group said they have conducted more than 20 meetings with tour operators since the committee was established in the summer of last year. Mr. Bagalo says there are several gaps within the transport sector between the local and hotel tour operators. He says there must be balance and equity among the groups, one that may even require a national policy.
We have recommended that you halt the current licensing regime. We've also recommended that you merge the entities and make one entity responsible for the licensing regime.
A few months ago, tour operators clashed with the police in Montego Bay, St. James, citing that they're being targeted with fees by the government, whilst the foreign companies and even the hotels benefit. Additionally, they say the hotels drive fear into the tourists, forcing out the tour operators. And after examining the Economic Partnership Program, one of the main purposes of the group, Mr. Bagalo said many of the Caribbean territories are not signatories to the EPA and therefore don't have the same challenges. The EPA is between the European Union and African, Caribbean and Pacific countries with the aim to promote trade through investment.
Many of our competitors are not signatories to the EPA in the Caribbean, and so they don't have the challenges that we have in securing and carving out a space for the indigenous people. So we have looked at all the Caribbean countries as competitors and tell you what they're doing for the indigenous people, and we have summarized the report in the categories of people who are on the EPA and people who are not on the EPA. And the country that we recommend that you look at is Seychelles.
Meanwhile, Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett announced that the ministry will be reviewing the recommendations and making changes where necessary.